We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
They said, all men, but we, humans, of flesh and blood, created by our Creator, did not have these rights. The rights of life, liberty, and the pursuits of happiness, according to Europeans. Even a decade later in the U.S. Constitution, they only considered us 3/5 of a human being. I mean, how you say somebody 3/5 of a human being? I mean, how you add that when somebody come along? Hey, who wants to do multiplication and division? You know what I'm saying? It's real simple to just say we human, count one as one. Okay, I'm gonna let her get back to it. I'm just saying. At the time of this declaration, we were considered property, like animals, forced to endure conditions way worse than the conditions placed on them by Britain, conditions that they would wage war against. The Continentals, early European squatters, today we call them Americans, were subject to British economic rulership and British police enforcement. They found British policies to be oppressive. The tension was high, and the tension erupted on March 5th, 1770, where Crispus Attucks, a black man, is reported as being the first to lose his life in an altercation between Boston mobs and the British soldiers. A black man was the first to lose his life for the sake of white-on-white conflict, of what the Americans called the Boston Massacre, for a group of Europeans that did not view him nor his kind as human. But ironically, Crispus Attucks was not the only black to fight in the American Revolutionary War. George Washington and other Continentals were not initially interested in supplying blacks with weapons to help fight in this war, for fear that they would have fought an independent struggle against them. The British, however, encouraged blacks to fight and promised them not only freedom, but land to be self-governing. The Continentals took notice and hesitantly utilized blacks to help fight against the British. Many whites would send enslaved Africans to fight in their place, promising them freedom if they served honorably. And so, motivated by the promise of coming from up under this enslavement and the oppression, and from being forced, we fought. Pause. Stop the music. Do you not see the irony in this? Here we have black on black violence, willing to kill each other for European interests, hoping that we can appeal to their morality and that they will honor their word and stop oppressing us as a reward for fighting. When the war ended, what happened to the blacks? Many that fought for the Continentals went back to life as usual. Only a few blacks that fought for the British saw fulfillment to this promise that they couldn't keep. Those that left with the British went to their new land of Canada, England, Australia, and Sierra Leone, and were still treated as they had been before. Some rebel Africans were given to loyalist plantations or shipped to English slave property in the Caribbean. Or worse, some were sent back to continental enslavers when they became of no benefit to the British. Although our ancestors fought in the American Revolutionary War, many for their freedom, literally, it wasn't until 1865 that we gained our independence. Or did we? America showed us a great example of how independence is gained.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. We
And the U.S. Revolution against Britain also showed us what independence looks like. Bring it down. When a nation or a group of people have true independence, it means that you have your own sovereignty, which means that you are self-governing, which means that you are self-determining. So what does that mean? This means that you are no longer dependent on or subject to any other people's or institutions' power or will. And with this, it becomes your prerogative to protect your population and your sovereignty. So what have African Americans been celebrating as their own token of independence? An Emancipation Proclamation that boils down to European Americans writing on paper that they would partially, only in rebellious states, stop abusing the human rights of Africans, that is, on paper and selectively. Even with that, how do you celebrate a day that somebody else said on paper that they're going to give you something that is yours by birthright? How do we celebrate an independence that does not equate to our own sovereignty? I don't know. Independence without your own sovereignty is kind of like saying, here, take this money that can't buy nothing. As far as I'm concerned, that's pretty useless. Maybe ceremonial or symbolic. Looks pretty even, but you can't do nothing practical with it.